The week I married Leo, my parents cut me off. Not slowly, not with warnings. My dad called him a grease monkey, and my mom said I chose shame over family. My brother blocked my number that same night. The last thing my dad said was, "Don't come back until you're ready to admit you married a loser." What hurt most wasn't being disowned. It was realizing Leo was the only one who wasn't surprised. He just squeezed my hand and said, "They showed you who they are." I didn't understand what he meant until months later when my mom finally reached out. I'd been the family ATM for years. My brother's credit card bills, my parents' emergencies, repairs that somehow always fell on me. I never said no because saying no meant I was selfish. When I told them I was getting married, my mom smiled and said, "Finally, someone to help you carry the load." Then she met Leo. He showed up in a shirt with oil stains on the cuffs. My dad wouldn't shake his hand. My mom asked what he did, and when I said mechanic, her face went cold. She pulled me aside later and said one sentence that made everything clear. "You're really going to throw away your future on someone who can't even keep his hands clean?" She thought she was saving me, but she had no idea she was insulting the one man who could save her. They accused Leo of using me for money. The irony was brutal. Leo had never asked me for a dime. He paid for our small wedding himself, refused to let me contribute to the house down payment, and still managed to slip cash into my purse when he thought I wasn't looking. Meanwhile, my dad was 3 months behind on his mortgage, and my brother had defaulted on 2 loans I'd co-signed. But Leo was the problem because his hands had grease under the nails. My dad wouldn't even look at him during the wedding planning. He just stared past him like Leo was furniture. That silence wasn't disgust, it was fear. But I didn't see that yet. After the wedding, I disappeared from the family group chat. Aunts stopped calling, my mom's friends unfollowed me on social media. For 6 months, it was just me and Leo in our small house on the edge of town. I told myself I was fine, that I'd chosen the right person, but the isolation was heavy. I started doubting everything. Maybe they were right, maybe I'd made a mistake. Then one night my phone buzzed. A text from my brother, clearly meant for my dad. "The deadline's in 2 weeks. If Diana doesn't help, we're done." I stared at that message for an hour, my stomach turning. What deadline? I asked Leo if he knew anything. He leaned back in his chair and said, "Your family's been in trouble for a while." I asked how he knew. He just smiled and said, "I pay attention." I pushed him. He finally told me his garage wasn't just a garage. It was called Leo's Restoration Group, and it didn't just fix cars. It restored classic Ferraris for celebrities, executives, people with more money than sense. He said it so casually, like he was talking about the weather. I asked why he never told me. He looked at me and said, "I wanted to see if your family loved you or loved what you could give them." That's when I realized Leo knew exactly what my parents were. He'd been testing them from the start. 2 days later, my mom called. Her voice was soft, warm, the way it used to be when I was little. "Diana, sweetheart, we miss you. Family is more important than pride." I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they'd changed. Maybe they finally saw me. Leo was sitting across from me, watching. He didn't say anything, just smiled and nodded. Later, he said, "Let's see where this goes." My mom asked if we could meet for coffee. I said yes. She hugged me when I walked in, held me tight like she meant it. Then, halfway through her latte, she asked for a tiny favor. My chest went tight. Here it was. She needed me to vouch for them at the bank. My dad's business was expanding, she said, and they needed a large loan to cover the new location. "If you do this, Diana, we're a family again. That's all we want. Just help us this one time." I told her I'd think about it. She grabbed my hand across the table. "Don't think too long. We're running out of time." When I got home, Leo asked what she wanted. I told him. He nodded slowly and said, "You should do it." I blinked. He never encouraged me to help them. He said, not to save them, to end it. I made the call and agreed to vouch for them, completely unaware that I was walking straight into a trap, just not the one they planned. The next week, the calls got aggressive. My dad texted me exact scripts of what to say to the loan officer. My mom sent me lists of numbers, income figures, projections that didn't match anything I knew about their business. My brother called and said, "Just don't screw this up, Diana. For once, be useful." I felt like a tool again, something they picked up when they needed it and put down when they didn't. That's when I looked up the bank they wanted the loan from. The parent company was listed in small print at the bottom of the website, Paris Restoration Holdings. I stared at the screen. Then I walked into the garage and asked Leo if he owned the bank. He didn't even look up from the engine he was working on. He just said, "Majority shareholder." I asked why he didn't tell me. He wiped his hands on a rag and said, "Because I wanted you to decide on your own." I asked what he meant. He said, "If I told you I could shut them down, you might have done it out of anger. This way, you're doing it because you're done." He was right. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just tired. My mom called again that night. She said the meeting was scheduled for Friday. She asked if Leo was coming. I said yes. She laughed. "Why? He'll just embarrass us." I said Leo had a good eye for contracts. She didn't respond, just hung up. Later, my brother sent a message, "Keep the grease monkey home." I didn't reply. I just stared at the screen, knowing that by tomorrow morning, that text would be the least of his problems. I found out through an old family friend that my parents weren't expanding, they were drowning. My dad had invested in a development deal that collapsed, and now he was facing lawsuits. The loan wasn't for growth, it was to keep them out of court, maybe out of jail. They were counting on the new bank owner being someone they could sweet-talk or pressure, someone who didn't know them. My mom had called it a fresh start in one of her texts. I realized they hadn't even checked who owned the bank. They just assumed it was some faceless corporation. That's how little they thought of Leo. That's how invisible he'd been to them. The night before the meeting, I asked Leo if he was nervous. He was folding laundry in the bedroom, calm as always. He said, "Why would I be nervous?" I told him my parents were going to be rude. He smiled. "I'm used to people looking at the grease, not the man." He didn't pack a briefcase, didn't bring files or documents, just put on a clean work shirt and grabbed a single key from the dresser. I asked what the key was for. He said, "The boardroom." I tried to sleep that night, but couldn't. I kept imagining my mom's face when she realized. Part of me felt guilty. Most of me felt relief.
We walked into the bank Friday morning. My parents were already there, sitting in the lobby like they owned the place. My mom was wearing her expensive coat, the one she bought with money I'd lent her 2 years ago. My dad had his arms crossed, radiating entitlement. My brother was on his phone, bored. When they saw Leo, my mom's face tightened. My dad didn't even acknowledge him. My brother muttered something under his breath. Then my dad said, loud enough for the room to hear, "Leo, wait in the car. The adults are talking." Leo didn't move, just stood there, hands in his pockets. That's when the loan officer walked out. She was young, professional, carrying a tablet. She looked at Leo and smiled. Then she bowed slightly and said, "Mr. Chairman, the board is ready for your decision on this application." My mom's purse hit the floor. The sound echoed in the marble lobby. My dad's mouth opened, but nothing came out. My brother looked up from his phone, confused. My mom tried to laugh. "Leo? The mechanic? This is a joke, right?" The loan officer looked genuinely confused. "Ma'am, Mr. Leo Harrington is the majority shareholder of this bank and chairman of the board." Leo walked past them toward the elevators. He didn't say anything, didn't gloat, just moved like he'd done this 1,000 times. My parents followed in silence. In the boardroom, Leo sat at the head of the table. He opened a folder with their application inside. He read through it slowly. My dad tried to speak. Leo held up one hand. "Let me finish." When he was done, Leo slid the folder across the table toward my dad. "The numbers don't lie, and neither do I." My dad's voice cracked. "Leo, we can explain. This is just a rough patch. Family helps family, right?" Leo leaned back in his chair. Family, that's interesting. He looked at my mom. Is that what you told Diana when you called her your ATM? My mom's face went white. Leo pulled out another file. You borrowed $50,000 from her last year, told her it was for medical bills. It wasn't. He slid a printed bank statement across the table. My brother stood up. You had no right to look into that. Leo didn't blink. I have every right. She's my wife. Then he pushed the red denied stamp across the desk. No one yelled. My dad just sat there, staring at the stamp like it was a weapon. My mom started crying, not the soft kind, the desperate kind. She said, Diana, please, we're family. Blood matters. I looked at her. For the first time in my life, I felt nothing. No guilt, no obligation, no pull. I said, you threw me away when I married him. You didn't even try to know him. You just saw Grease and decided he wasn't worth your time. My mom reached for my hand. I pulled it back. Leo stood up. This meeting is over. My dad finally found his voice. You'll regret this. Leo opened the door. No, you will. We walked out together. I didn't look back. My parents lost the business 3 months later. I heard about it through a cousin. No one reached out to apologize or explain. My brother sent one text. Hope you're happy. I deleted it without responding. Leo and I moved to a bigger house last year, but he still works in the garage most weekends. He says he likes the smell of oil, the feel of the tools. I asked him once if he regretted how it went down. He said, I regret that they made you feel small. I don't miss them. I don't feel guilty. I just feel light. If you've ever been underestimated by the people who should have loved you most, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments and subscribe for more.